The glossy magazine cover stared back at me from the newsstand. Text Rising Star. How David Chen built Quantum Leap from nothing. Nothing. I almost laughed. The irony would have been funny if it hadn't made me so angry. My name is Alex Torres, and 2 years ago, I watched my best friend steal my life's work and turn it into a $50 million company. But I'm getting ahead of myself. David and I met in college, two computer science majors with big dreams. While other students partied, we spent countless nights in the computer lab, fueled by energy drinks and ambition. We shared everything: ideas, codes, dreams of changing the world through technology. The idea that would become Quantum Leap started in our senior year. I'd been working on an algorithm that could revolutionize how artificial intelligence processed natural language. It wasn't just another chatbot. This was something different, something that could understand context and nuance in a way no other eye had managed. "This is incredible," David said one night, watching me debug another section of code. "The applications for this could be huge." I nodded, too focused on my screen to notice the calculating look in his eyes. "I think this could change everything. Customer service, education, maybe even healthcare." After graduation, David landed a job at a prestigious tech firm while I took an internship at a smaller startup. We stayed close, meeting every weekend to work on what we still called our project. I shared all my progress, every breakthrough, every setback. David always listened intently, offering encouragement and suggestions. What I didn't know was that he was taking notes. Detailed notes. The first sign something was wrong came when David started missing our weekend meetings. "Work's crazy," he texted. Rain check. I didn't think much of it at the time. We were both building our careers after all. Then came the day I saw the announcement in TechCrunch. Former Google engineer launches revolutionary AI platform. The headline didn't worry me until I saw David's face smiling up from the article. My hands shook as I read the description of Quantum Leap's proprietary technology. It was my algorithm, my code, my dream. I called David immediately, straight to voicemail. I texted, emailed, even went to his apartment. Nothing. Finally, a week later, he agreed to meet me at our old coffee shop. "Look," he said, stirring his untouched latte. "I know you're upset, but you have to understand. This is business. The core idea might have started with you, but I'm the one who made it viable. I'm the one who built it into something real." Something real? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "David, that's my algorithm. My code. We worked on this together." He shook his head, his expression maddeningly calm. "No, Alex. You worked on a school project. I built a company. There's a difference. I trusted you," I said, my voice cracking. "You were my best friend." "And you were an intern with some interesting ideas," he replied, standing up. "That's all. Don't make this into something it's not." As he walked away, leaving his cold coffee behind, something inside me hardened. David thought he had won, thought he could simply take what was mine and rewrite history. But he'd forgotten something crucial about me. I never deleted anything. Every email we'd exchanged about the project, every piece of code I'd written, every meeting we'd had in the lab, it was all documented. I even recorded our brainstorming sessions, a habit I developed to help me remember important details. That night, I pulled out my external hard drive and started organizing everything. Emails dating back to our junior year, discussing the initial concept. Video recordings of us working through problems together. My voice clearly explaining the core algorithms that now powered Quantum Leap. Git commits showing the evolution of the code, time-stamped and authenticated. I had proof. Real, solid proof that David hadn't built anything from nothing. He'd built it from my work, my ideas, my dedication. But proof wasn't enough. I needed a plan. I contacted Maya Patel, a lawyer specializing in intellectual property law. She reviewed my evidence with increasing interest. "This is quite compelling," she said, spreading the documents across her desk. "The timestamps, the continuous development history. It shows a clear progression from your original work to their current product." "So we can stop them?" I asked, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. She hesitated. "It's not that simple. They have resources, a legal team. This could get expensive and ugly very quickly." "I don't care about expensive," I said firmly. "I care about the truth." Maya studied me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but if we're going to do this, we need to be smart about it. They'll try to paint you as a disgruntled ex-friend trying to cash in on their success. We need to control the narrative. Over the next few weeks, we built our case methodically. Maya helped me organize my evidence into a clear, undeniable timeline showing the evolution of my work and its subsequent theft by David. Meanwhile, Quantum Leap was everywhere. David appeared on tech podcasts, gave interviews about his innovative approach to AI development. Each appearance, each quote about building everything from scratch made my blood boil. Then came the interview that changed everything. David was featured in a major tech magazine discussing Quantum Leap's meteoric rise. The interviewer asked about rumors that the core technology had been developed by someone else. David laughed, that same dismissive laugh I'd heard in the coffee shop. I know who you're talking about, Alex Torres. He was an intern at a startup where I used to mentor. Rock Coffee sat in on some meetings. Now he's trying to claim he invented everything. It's sad, really. Some people just can't handle seeing others succeed. I stared at the words until they blurred. Coffee, meetings, intern. He was erasing me, reducing years of work and friendship to nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my computer, surrounded by evidence of my contribution. Our contribution to what became Quantum Leap. Then I had an idea. I started coding. Not AI this time, but a simple website. I uploaded every piece of evidence I had, emails, videos, code commits, all organized chronologically. Each item was time-stamped, verifiable, undeniable. Then I wrote a blog post. Not angry, not accusatory, just facts. I described the development of the algorithm, our collaboration, the moment I discovered the theft. Everything documented, everything proven. Maya called me as soon as she saw it. Alex, this is risky. They could sue you for defamation. Let them, I replied. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, right? And everything on that site is true. The website went live at midnight. By morning, it had gone viral in the tech community. Developers, engineers, and industry insiders were picking apart the evidence, verifying timestamps, analyzing code similarities. #QuantumPef started trending on Twitter. David's PR team scrambled to contain the damage, releasing statements about misunderstandings and parallel development. But the evidence was too clear, too detailed to dismiss. Then came the email from Lisa Chen, David's sister and Quantum Leap's CFO. We need to talk, she wrote, not through lawyers. Just us. I stared at her message for a long time, remembering all the dinners I'd shared with their family, all the times Lisa had teased us about being married to our computers. What do you think? I asked Maya. She frowned at her screen. Legally, I'd advise against any unofficial communication. But sometimes resolving things person to person is better than letting lawyers fight it out. I agreed to meet Lisa at a quiet restaurant away from the tech corridor. She was already there when I arrived, looking tired and worried. He screwed up, she said as soon as I sat down. David, he lost himself somewhere along the way. Got caught up in the idea of being the next tech genius, the next Zuckerberg. That doesn't excuse what he did, I said quietly. No, she agreed. It doesn't. But I'm hoping we can fix this before it destroys everything, including your friendship. I almost laughed. Friendship? Lisa, he stole my work and then tried to erase me from the story completely. That's not something friends do. She pushed a folder across the table. We want to make this right. The board is prepared to offer you a significant ownership stake in Quantum Leap, plus a seat on the Technical Advisory Committee. Full recognition for your contributions to the core technology. I opened the folder. The numbers made my head spin. It was more money than I'd ever imagined having. And David? I asked. What does he say about this? Lisa's hesitation told me everything. He'll come around. Once he sees it's the only way forward. I closed the folder. That's not good enough. What do you want, Alex? Lisa asked, frustration creeping into her voice. Name your price. I leaned back, studying her face, so similar to David's, yet somehow kinder. I want him to admit what he did. Publicly. No PR spin, no carefully worded statements about misunderstandings. The truth. He'll never agree to that, she said quietly. His pride won't let him. Then we have nothing to discuss. I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. I'll see you in court. The next morning, Quantum Leap's lawyers sent a cease and desist letter demanding I take down the website. I forwarded it to Maya without comment. Her response was immediate. They're scared. The evidence is too strong, and they know it. Want to see something interesting? She sent me a link to an SEC filing. Quantum Leap was preparing for an IPO, hoping to raise over $200 million. My website and the growing scandal threatened everything they built, or rather, everything they had stolen. Their investors must be freaking out, Maya noted during our next meeting. An IP dispute like this could tank the whole offering. She was right. Over the next few days, I received calls from various intermediaries trying to negotiate a settlement. The offers kept getting bigger, but they all had one thing in common. They wanted me to sign an NDA and pretend none of it had happened. I refused each one. Then came the threats. Anonymous emails suggesting I should think carefully about my future in tech. Comments on my website claiming I was mentally unstable, bitter, delusional. I recognized David's writing style in some of them. But I had support too. Former classmates came forward, confirming they remembered my work on the algorithm. My old professors vouched for my capabilities. The tech community, often quick to tear people down, rallied around the evidence I presented. One morning, I arrived at work to find an unexpected visitor waiting in the lobby, James Zhang, the CEO of RiverTech, one of Silicon Valley's most respected AI companies. Interesting website you've got there, he said, extending his hand. Want to get coffee? Over the next hour, James laid out a proposition. RiverTech wanted to hire me not as an engineer, but as the head of a new AI development division. They'd fund my research, protect my intellectual property, and give me the resources to continue my work. What's the catch? I asked. No catch. We've reviewed your code, your documentation. What you built, what was stolen from you. It's extraordinary. We want that kind of innovation at RiverTech. Properly credited, of course. It was tempting. Very tempting. But I need to finish this first, I said. I can't walk away and let them win. James nodded. The offer stands. Handle your business, then come talk to us. That evening, as I was leaving the office, I got an urgent call from Maya. Check your email. Now. There in my inbox was a message from David. The subject line. I'm sorry. My hands shook as I opened it. Alex, you were right. About everything. The algorithm, the code, all of it, it was yours. I got caught up in my own ambition and convinced myself I deserved the credit because I made it real. But that was a lie. I betrayed you, betrayed our friendship, our trust, everything we built together. The truth is, I was jealous. You were always the brilliant one, the true innovator. I just rode your coattails and then stole your glory. I've asked the PR team to draft a statement admitting everything. Lisa says it will probably kill the IPO. Maybe that's what I deserve. I know it's too late for us to ever be friends again, but for what it's worth, I'm sorry. David. I read the email 3 times before calling Maya. Is this real? I asked, not some PR stunt. It seems genuine, she said. Their lawyers just contacted me about drafting a settlement agreement. They're offering full credit, significant compensation, and a public admission of wrongdoing. I sat in silence, processing everything. Alex, what do you want to do? What did I want? The question had seemed so simple weeks ago. I wanted justice, recognition, vindication. Now that it was within reach, I wasn't so sure. I thought about all those nights in the computer lab, David and I dreaming about changing the world. About the countless dinners with his family, Lisa teasing us about our coding obsession. About the moment it all fell apart in that coffee shop. Set up a meeting, I said finally, not with their lawyers, with David. We met at our old college campus in the computer lab where it all began. David looked different, older, tired, the confidence drained from his posture. Your email, I said, sitting across from him. Did you mean it? He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. Every word. I lost myself, Alex, lost sight of everything that mattered. Why? We could have built this together. It could have been our success story, not just yours. Because I wanted to be you, he said quietly. You were always the genius, the one with the real vision. I was just there. When I saw the opportunity to take your work and make it mine, I convinced myself I deserved it, that I was just taking what should have been mine anyway. I looked around the lab at the computers where we'd spent so many hours coding, dreaming, building. You know this changes everything, right? The company, the IPO. I know, Lisa's furious. The board is probably going to fire me. He laughed bitterly. Turns out karma's real. We sat in silence for a while, years of friendship and betrayal hanging between us. I have an idea, I said finally. But you're not going to like it. 2 months later, Quantum Leap held a press conference. David stood at the podium, cameras flashing, and told the truth. All of it. He'd admitted to stealing my work, apologized publicly, and announced a restructuring of the company. Under the new arrangement, I became Chief Technology Officer, with full credit for the core technology. David stepped down as CEO but remained on the board. The company would move forward with both of us involved, each in our proper roles. The IPO was delayed but not canceled. When it finally happened 6 months later, the shares soared. Turned out the market appreciated honesty more than they feared scandal. Rivertech's James Zhang sent me a message. Interesting solution. The offer still stands if you ever change your mind. I kept his email but didn't respond. There was too much work to do at Quantum Leap, too many new ideas to explore. This time, with proper credit and protection. Lisa took over as CEO, proving to be a better leader than her brother ever was. She had the vision to see what Quantum Leap could become, not just an AI company, but a model for how tech companies could operate with transparency and integrity. As for David and me, we're not friends anymore, not like we were. Some betrayals cut too deep to fully heal. But we're colleagues now, working together professionally, each contributing in our own way. Sometimes, late at night in my new office, I look at the framed magazine cover on my wall. It's not the one that made me so angry. It's a newer one, showing David and me together under the headline, Quantum Leap. A story of innovation, betrayal, and redemption. The article tells the true story, not just of the technology, but of what happens when ambition overshadows friendship, and what's possible when honesty finally wins out. My phone buzzes. A text from Maya. Another acquisition offer. Want to hear it? I smile and type back, not interested, some things aren't for sale. She responds with a thumbs up. She understands now what I learned through all of this. Success means nothing if you lose yourself along the way. The next morning, I pass David in the hallway. We nod to each other, professional but distant. He's changed, become humbler, more thoughtful. Sometimes I catch him watching me with what looks like regret. But that's his burden to bear, not mine. I have work to do, real work, building something that could actually change the world. This time with my name on it, my vision leading the way. And every line of code I write reminds me that some victories aren't about winning or losing. They're about standing up for what's right, about being true to yourself even when it would be easier to give in. That's worth more than any IPO. I stared at Mark Davidson across his mahogany desk, maintaining a neutral expression as he delivered the news with barely concealed satisfaction. His words hung in the air between us. We're restructuring the department, and unfortunately, your position won't exist after next month. I see, I said quietly, watching his smirk grow wider. But before you go, he continued, leaning back in his leather chair, you'll need to train your replacement. Jennifer starts tomorrow. I expect you to show her everything about running our marketing division. Our marketing division. The irony of his words almost made me laugh. If only he knew. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and for the past 12 years, I've been the marketing director at Davidson Tech Solutions, or at least that's what everyone thought. The truth was far more interesting. 3 months ago, I had secretly purchased the entire company through a holding corporation I'd built over the years. Mark had no idea that the MKS Ventures that now own Davidson Tech was actually named after my initials, Sarah Catherine Mitchell. Of course, I replied, keeping my voice steady. I'll make sure Jennifer learns everything she needs to know. Mark nodded, clearly pleased with my docile response. Good. I knew you'd be professional about this. Too many people get emotional when they're let go. I thought about the stack of documents sitting in my lawyer's office, waiting to be filed tomorrow morning. Yes, emotions can certainly get in the way of business decisions. As I walked back to my office, I couldn't help but reflect on how I got here. 12 years ago, I'd started at Davidson Tech as a junior marketing associate. Back then, the company had been run by Mark's father, Robert Davidson, a brilliant businessman who saw potential in everyone, regardless of their gender or background. Under Robert's leadership, I'd flourished. He'd mentored me, challenged me, helped me grow from an eager rookie into a seasoned professional. When he promoted me to marketing director 7 years ago, he told me something I'd never forget. Sarah, success isn't just about making money. It's about building something that matters. But 3 years ago, Robert had passed away suddenly, leaving the company to his son. Mark had immediately started dismantling everything his father had built. The inclusive culture, the emphasis on innovation, the focus on employee growth. All of it replaced by a toxic environment of favoritism and short-term profit chasing. I watched as talented people were pushed out, replaced by Mark's drinking buddies and golf partners. The company's reputation began to suffer, our market share started slipping, and our best clients began looking elsewhere. That's when I started buying stock. It had begun as a small investment, just a few shares purchased through my personal account. But as Mark's mismanagement continued, more shareholders started selling. I created MKS Ventures as a holding company and began acquiring larger blocks of shares, always staying just under the threshold that would require public disclosure. 3 months ago, when one of the major institutional investors decided to sell their entire stake, I saw my opportunity. Through a complex series of transactions orchestrated by my lawyer, James Chen, MKS Ventures acquired controlling interest in Davidson Tech Solutions. He still doesn't suspect anything. Maya, my best friend and the company's head of HR, asked later that afternoon. She was one of only 3 people who knew the truth about MKS Ventures. I shook my head, organizing files on my desk. Not a clue. He's too busy congratulating himself on hiring Jennifer away from our biggest competitor. Maya snorted. You mean the competitor that's been losing market share for the past 2 years? The one that's about to be investigated for financial irregularities? The very same. I smiled, thinking about the stack of research I had on both Jennifer and her former employer. Mark thinks he's making a power move. He has no idea what's actually happening. When are you going to tell him? Tomorrow morning. James is filing the paperwork first thing, and then we're calling an emergency board meeting. I paused, looking at the photo on my desk. Me and Robert Davidson at the company's 10th anniversary celebration. It's time to put things right. Maya nodded, understanding in her eyes. Robert would be proud of you, you know. You're not just saving his company, you're making it better. I felt tears prick at my eyes but blinked them away. There would be time for emotions later. Right now, I had work to do. The next morning, I arrived early. Jennifer was already waiting in the lobby, dressed in an expensive suit that screamed corporate climber. Her resume had looked impressive at first glance, but I knew better. I'd done my homework. Jennifer, I greeted her warmly. Welcome to Davidson Tech. I'll be showing you the ropes over the next few weeks. She barely concealed her condescension as she looked me up and down. That's very kind of you. Mark has told me all about the changes he's planning to implement. I bet he has, I thought, leading her to my office. Well, why don't we start with our current marketing strategy? I'm sure you'll find it enlightening. For the next 2 hours, I walked Jennifer through our campaigns, our client relationships, and our future plans. She interrupted frequently, making suggestions that showed she had no real understanding of our industry or our market position. These retention strategies seem very old-fashioned, she said, gesturing dismissively at a presentation I'd created. In my experience, aggressive acquisition is much more effective than maintaining existing relationships. I made a note on my pad. Her attitude was confirming everything my research had suggested about her previous employer's troubles. At 10 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from James. Papers filed. Board members notified. Meeting set for 11. Jennifer, I said, standing up, I'm afraid we'll have to cut this morning's training short. There's an emergency board meeting I need to attend. She looked surprised. Board meeting. But Mark didn't mention. No, I smiled. I don't suppose he did. I left her to my office and made my way to the conference room. Mark was already there, face red with anger as he talked on his phone. What do you mean, emergency board meeting? I'm the CEO. I have to approve any board meetings. He looked up as I entered, covering the phone with his hand. Sarah, what are you doing here? This is for executives only. I know, I said calmly, taking a seat at the head of the table. That's why I'm here. Before he could respond, other board members began filing in. I recognized most of them. The old guard who had served under Robert, gradually pushed to the sidelines by Mark over the past 3 years. James Chen arrived last, carrying a thick folder of documents. He nodded to me as he took his seat. "What's going on here?" Mark demanded, looking around the room. "I didn't authorize this meeting." "No," I said, standing up. "I did." The room fell silent as James began distributing documents to each board member. 3 months ago, I continued, my voice steady, MKS Ventures acquired controlling interest in Davidson Tech Solutions. As of this morning, that acquisition is complete and fully documented with the SEC. Mark's face went from red to white. MKS Ventures. But that's my company, I finished for him. Named after my initials, Sarah Catherine Mitchell. The board members were reading through the documents now, murmurs of surprise and understanding filling the room. "This is impossible," Mark sputtered. "You're just a marketing director. You can't afford to buy a company this size." I thought about the years of careful investment, the long nights spent studying financial reports, the strategic planning that had led to this moment. "Actually, Mark, I can." And I did. I opened my own copy of the documents. "Now shall we discuss the future of Davidson Tech Solutions?" The look on his face was everything I'd imagined it would be, a mix of shock, rage, and dawning comprehension. But this wasn't about revenge. This was about something much more important. I pulled out Robert Davidson's old photo from my folder and placed it on the table. "Your father built this company on principles of innovation, integrity, and respect for every employee. It's time to return to those values." Mark stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is ridiculous. I'll have my lawyers look into this immediately. There's no way this takeover is legal." James Chen cleared his throat. "I assure you, Mr. Davidson, everything is perfectly legal. I've personally overseen every transaction. Would you like to see the documentation of how Ms. Mitchell acquired the shares?" I watched as James methodically laid out the paper trail, every stock purchase, every filing, every legal document that proved MKS Ventures' legitimate acquisition of Davidson Tech Solutions. "As you can see," James continued, his voice professionally neutral, "Ms. Mitchell now owns 51% of the company's shares. The board has been called today to vote on new leadership." Mark's face contorted with rage. "You sneaky little—" "I'd choose your next words very carefully," I interrupted, my voice cool. "The board is watching." And they were. Every member sat alert, documents in hand, watching the drama unfold. Many of them had worked with Robert, had seen the company's decline under Mark's leadership. "Members of the board," I said, standing to address them directly, "for the past 3 years, we've watched this company lose market share, valuable employees, and most importantly, its identity. The culture of innovation and integrity that Robert Davidson built has been systematically dismantled." I began distributing another set of documents. Charts showing the company's declining performance under Mark's leadership. "Our profit margins have dropped 40% in 3 years. We've lost 12 major clients. Employee turnover is at an all-time high. But more than that, we've lost our way." The board members nodded, examining the numbers. They'd seen the decline firsthand, even if they'd been powerless to stop it. "This isn't just about numbers," I continued. "It's about who we are as a company. Robert Davidson built this company to be more than just another tech firm. He wanted to create something that mattered." "Oh, spare us the sentimental garbage," Mark spat. "Business is about profit, not your precious feelings about my father." A board member, Janet Chen, no relation to James, spoke up. "Actually, Mark, business is about sustainable growth and strong leadership. Something we haven't seen much of lately." Others began nodding in agreement. The tide was turning. "I move to vote on new leadership," Janet said firmly. "I second the motion," another board member added. Mark looked around wildly, realizing he was losing control. "You can't do this. I'm a Davidson. This is my company." "No," I said quietly. "It was your father's company, and he knew that leadership isn't inherited. It's earned." The vote was quick and decisive. Within 15 minutes, Mark Davidson was no longer CEO of Davidson Tech Solutions. Security was called to escort him from the building, his face purple with rage as he shouted threats about lawsuits and revenge. As the board filed out, Janet stayed behind. That couldn't have been easy, she said, squeezing my shoulder. But it was necessary. I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders. The hard part's just beginning. And it was. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. First, there was Jennifer to deal with. She'd been hired by Mark specifically to replace me, but her contract hadn't been finalized. After a brief conversation where I outlined my concerns about her previous employer's practices, she decided to pursue other opportunities. Then came the task of rebuilding. Maya and I worked late into the night, reviewing personnel files, identifying talented employees who'd been sidelined under Mark's leadership. "Look at this," Maya said one evening, pulling up a file. "Thomas Chen in engineering. He's been passed over for promotion 3 times, despite having multiple patents and excellent performance reviews." "Let's set up a meeting," I replied. "We need people like him in leadership positions." Slowly but surely, we began to reshape the company. I reinstated the mentorship program Robert had started. We revived the innovation lab that Mark had shut down. Most importantly, we started rebuilding the culture that had made Davidson Tech special. A month after the takeover, I sat in what had once been Mark's office, now significantly redecorated, reviewing our progress with Maya. "Employee satisfaction scores are up 30%, she reported, and we've had 3 former employees reach out about coming back." I smiled, thinking about the changes we'd made. The office felt different now, more energetic, more alive. People weren't afraid to share ideas or raise concerns. But not everything was smooth sailing. Mark, true to his word, had his lawyers examine every aspect of the takeover. They found nothing irregular, but the scrutiny was stressful. Then there were the industry rumors he tried to spread, suggesting the company was unstable under new leadership. We answered those rumors with results. Within 6 months, we'd not only stabilized our market position but begun to grow again. Innovation, once stifled, flourished. New products were developed, new clients signed. 1 year after the takeover, I stood in front of the entire company at our annual meeting. The auditorium was packed. We'd hired over 100 new employees in the past year. When Robert Davidson founded this company, he had a vision. Not just of creating successful products, but of building something meaningful. A place where innovation and integrity went hand in hand. I paused, looking out at the sea of faces. Some had been there under Robert's leadership, others were new, but all shared the same sense of purpose. For a while, we lost sight of that vision. But today, we're back on track. Our profits are up 45% from last year. Our employee satisfaction is at an all-time high. But more importantly, we're making a difference. I gestured to the screen behind me, showing our latest project. A collaborative effort between our tech team and local schools, helping bring STEM education to underprivileged communities. "This is what success looks like," I continued. "Not just numbers on a spreadsheet, but real impact on real people's lives." After the meeting, Maya found me in my office, staring at Robert's old photo. "He would be proud, you know," she said softly. I nodded, touching the frame gently. "I hope so." "Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, taking over the way I did." "Sarah," Maya said firmly, "you didn't just take over. You saved this company. Look at what you've built." She was right. In the past year, we'd done more than just restore the company. We'd made it better. Our technology was more innovative, our culture stronger, our impact greater. The photo on my desk wasn't just of Robert anymore. Next to it sat a new one, taken at our last company picnic. Hundreds of smiling faces, all part of something bigger than themselves. That evening, as I prepared to leave the office, I received an unexpected email. It was from Robert's widow, Margaret. "Dear Sarah, I've been watching what you've done with the company this past year. Robert always said you were special, that you understood what Davidson Tech was really about. He was right. Thank you for keeping his dream alive and for making it even better. With gratitude, Margaret." Tears pricked at my eyes as I read her words. This was why I'd done it, not for revenge against Mark, not for personal gain, but because some things are worth fighting for. The next morning, I arrived early as usual. The office was quiet, but not for long. Soon it would be filled with energy, ideas, and possibility. As I walked to my office, I passed the wall where Robert's old motto hung. "Success isn't just about making money. It's about building something that matters." I smiled, thinking about how far we'd come. Mark had thought he was pushing me out, forcing me to train my replacement. Instead, he'd inspired me to become something more. Not just an employee, but a leader. Not just a marketer, but a visionary. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's proving that you were right all along, that integrity, innovation, and respect aren't just nice words on a wall, but principles worth fighting for. As the office began to fill with employees, I heard the familiar buzz of creativity and collaboration. This was Robert Davidson's real legacy, not just a successful company, but a place where people could grow, innovate, and make a difference. And now it was my legacy too.